Okay, everybody, how are you today? This is Makeda Valletta. I'm Makeda Valletta, also known as the Renaissance Amazon, Queen Lioness, and the Body Scientist. And I just wanted to reintroduce myself today for those of you who are just new to following me, to those of you who may not really listen to much that I say, you don't really know who I am and what I do. I just said, you know what? Every now and then it's good to do a video while I reintroduce myself, okay? So, hold on. Okay, so I have a background in exercise and sports science, nutrition science. I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I'm a sports nutritionist. I am a sacred sexual educator. I'm a dancer. I am a former athlete, multi-sport athlete, a birth worker, and I've committed my life to studying all the ways that we could take our body to its highest level, right? And that involves many different things. That involves our mind state and mental health. That involves our sexuality and our sexual health. That involves what we consume, whether it be food or we put in our skin. It includes vaginal health, penile health, mind-body connections, all of those things play a role in taking our body to its highest level. I am a strength and conditioning specialist. A lot of people don't know what that is. A strength and conditioning specialist is different than just simply being a personal trainer. Just simply being a personal trainer is just like general fitness, like people coming to you saying, I want to lose 5 pounds, or sorry, that's my heat. I live in an old school apartment. So if you hear loud clanking sounds, that's what that is. So the general fitness industry is just about a look or losing a few pounds, right? So somebody who's like a group fitness instructor or a personal trainer, their level of knowledge is limited. And a lot of them, you have levels. There's levels to the shit, okay? So high level trainers, they know what to do with somebody who has back problems, knee problems, heart transplant, diabetes, like different physical and physiological issues. A high-level trainer, especially somebody with a background in exercise physiology as well, has the knowledge and the skills to do those things, right? So that is my approach to fitness, okay? Because I do have degrees in the field, and specifically exercise and sports science, okay, which sound the same, but they're different, okay? Because when you're exercise, it's supposed to be safe and effective. Sports is not always safe, okay? There are a lot of things in sports that's not good for you or can be damaging or can cause you to get injured. You should never get injured when you are exercising. When you're dealing with sports, you're dealing with periodization models and peaking performance at certain moments, okay? What a strength and conditioning specialist does, we take an athlete throughout the competitive season, and we design workouts in the gym, in the weight room, to help decrease injury and increase performance. And there's periodization methods that are used, okay, which are, the amount of rest times, the work ratio, rest times, the weight load, all of that, okay? And the workout that you do in the off season is different than what you do in the preseason, is different than what you do in championship time. It's different, okay? There are certain, no athlete or no person is at tip-top performance shape every single day. So there are periodization methods for that. And that is my realm of expertise. Although most of my clients are regular people, I still apply that same ideology. I feel like everybody should train like an athlete. So it's not just about what you look like, but what can you do, right? On top of that, when it comes to womb health, okay, that's one thing I didn't mention. I mentioned I'm a birth worker, but I also study a lot of things dealing with the womb, vaginal health, stuff like that. In exercise, to become a trainer, to get a degree, whatever, they don't ever speak about really like the differences between the female body and the man's body, right? Like they do a little bit, but the fact that women have a uterus, there's certain exercises that aren't good for us, okay, that can displace our uterus and cause other issues. When it comes to sports performance, what we do sexually can affect that, So you may have heard male athletes being told not to have sex the day before a competition. I would always say it's not that they shouldn't have sex, but they probably shouldn't ejaculate, right? So there are certain practices that can be done sexually to build up your chi and your life force for men and women. That's another thing that I study and have been teaching since like 2005, right? But it's also connected to our physical and mental and spiritual health, right? As a dancer, I've been dancing since I was 5. I started off in doing ballet and tap at the Dance Theater Harlem and Harlem School of the Arts. Okay, so I'm from New York, I'm from Harlem, but I currently live in Chicago. Been living in Chicago for the past 5 years, right? But as an adult, I started to really really immerse myself in dances of the African diaspora, right? So I extensively studied stuff from Haiti. Haitian folkloric dance has had the biggest influence on me. I have videos where I speak about that. Puerto Rican, Afro-Puerto Rican bomba y plena. A lot of Afro-Cuban stuff, whether it be rumba, whether it be, I've studied the Afro-Cuban palos, the arara, the Orisha, and the Haitian Afro-Cuban dances from Santiago, which is very different than even Haitian folklore dance. So when people say Afro-Cuban dance, there's a lot of things in that umbrella. I've also studied samba de Bahia and just samba from Brazil, Afro-Brazilian samba, palos y congos from Dominican Republic. Of course, I dance merengue because I grew up in a neighborhood with Dominicans. Of course, I dance salsa because I'm from uptown New York City, the birthplace of salsa. I like Colombian salsa, Puerto Rican, Nuyorican, and Afro-Cuban, right, and Cuban. I, grew up around, dancing dance hall in the 90s. Dance hall was very strong, especially in New York. I studied a lot of stuff from the Congo, Colombia, especially champeta. There's a rich history of black dancers in Colombia, and I'm still not done studying that. The pandemic kind of interrupted that. I need to get to the Pacific coast of Colombia because it's very hard to find Afro-Colombian dances outside of the country. But Colombia has a very strong Afro-Colombian dance and music thing. And champeta is what you see in Cartagena, okay, on the Caribbean coast. And champeta is very much Congolese soukous, okay? So, I also really love Afro-Peruvian dance. Afro-Peruvian dance is off the hook. And then, of course, my own Afro-American dance forms of twerking, of New Orleans bounce. You have Chicago step. You got, which Chicago step comes from the Lindy Hop in Harlem, which white people call swing, right? So I'm a serious student of black dance. And studying these dances, especially the Afro-Caribbean dances, really helped to shape my mindset, even on my body, right? Because as a dancer, my body is my tool. It's my artistic tool. But also, for those of you who've been following me for a while, some of you haven't, but you see that I have been posing for photographers since like 2004, right? Photographers would see me and they would ask to shoot me. Every single photo shoot that I did, a photographer saw me, wanted to shoot me. Now, a lot of these photographers were already highly experienced, published. They might be commercial photographers, but when you're a commercial photographer, you may be doing photography for work, but that's not what inspires you. So I was like their muse. I would be like, they would always want to do artistic collaborations with me. So I've been doing artistic collaborations with photographers since like 2004. And I would say maybe like 80% of it was artistic nude. And it was always their vision of that, so people would see me and be like, you're always naked, you love being naked. And I'm like, well, people forget the photographer is also an artist. And when I do these artistic collaborations, I didn't come with ideas. I would just show up and then follow their lead. And, a lot of them, it was nude. I mean, when you think about it, art students, when people go to school for art, they have to sketch nude models. When you're studying, when you're trying to learn anatomy and kinesiology, a lot of times you're going to work on cadavers. And the artists, I think like Leonardo, whatever those artists were that were named after, the Ninja Turtles were named after. D'Angelo, I don't know. Whatever those 4 Ninja Turtles names, they were named after some famous artists. Those artists were like responsible for digging up graves or something to study anatomy and kinesiology. and it was like against the church and it was considered evil. But again, they were artists studying anatomy. Can you see, like anatomy? Okay, and so if you're an artist or you are a trainer like myself or a massage therapist, you have to study anatomy, kinesiology, studying the body. So for me, having those kind of backgrounds, I just don't have these kind of hang-ups about bodies. And the funny thing about it is, I'm always saying, like, the people who seem to be the most comfortable in their skin sometimes look the worst. And no offense to anybody, but like, I know when I be in the gym or you go to a nude beach, okay, when I'm in the gym, the people who look the worst, that nobody wants to see naked, they are the most comfortable naked. They walking all around butt naked in the mirror, blow drying their hair, butt naked, everything hanging, they fine. You go to the nude beach, most of the people don't look that great. They're comfortable, right? And it's like, really, at the end of the day, we were born naked. We were freaking born naked. All these people who are so righteous, okay, so pro-black or pro-whatever, just want some, oh, you need to cover up, and they act like if a woman is showing skin, like she's disrespecting herself. Anybody who thinks like that needs to understand real quick that your mind is colonized, okay? You sound just like the colonizers, just like them. I know most people don't read. Most people don't know how to do research, okay? So you don't know how to look at primary documents and artifacts. That's what I look at. Primary documents and artifacts. That's where the truth is. And also what is written in stone. So when you do that, you look at ancient art, what was written in stone before the colonizers came, or the patriarchal entities, okay? Because a lot of people might hear me, like if I talk about patriarchy, and other women too, a lot of people don't understand what that is. A lot of men take that as an attack on men, right? And that's not what that is. The patriarchy and patriarchy ideology is real. It comes from religion, okay? So I didn't grow up religious, thankfully. I'm thankful. I think it's a good thing. I didn't grow up religious, okay? I was taught to believe what makes sense to me, all right? To critically think, not to believe something because somebody told me this, but to think for myself, research all sides, think for myself, and believe what makes sense to me, okay? My beloved father told me this all the time. And so he was like, and my dad was an atheist, but he's like, if you want to go to church because you want to go to church. Just go. And I did go to church for a little bit with family friends because I was curious, and nothing made any sense to me. Whenever I asked people questions, they never told me anything that made any damn sense. And I was always somebody where shit needed to make sense to me, which is why I kind of went into science, okay? I always had an inquisitive mind. So I didn't grow up with all this suppression and shame, okay? And I remember even my dad telling me, my dad's from Florida, all right? That's another thing about me. I got Florida roots, Afro-Seminole roots, okay? And if you know the history of Florida, those are some copper-complected people, Afro-Indigenous people that just wasn't trying to, participate and just bow down to the system, okay? Florida was not a yes sir, yes ma'am state, okay? What Florida is now is totally different. There's a lot of crazies there, but I'm just talking about the history of it and the Black Seminoles, right? And Florida has an intertwined history with the Caribbean. But my dad used to always, when he was growing up, he went to church in Florida. And he said that the pastor or the preacher or whoever used to always, put all this shame in them and say like, oh, if you have sexual thoughts, you're going to burn in hell and all this stuff. And my dad said he was terrified. He told me he had a crush on his school teacher and he used to fantasize about her. And he was terrified of what he was hearing in church. So he just rejected it all. Said, fuck this shit. I'm good. Okay. And he was extreme intellectual. I myself am not religious, but I am spiritual. But in my studies, okay, what I have come to see is that all of people talk about patriarchal, it's the patriarchal religions. The three main religions in the world: Catholicism, which Christianity is in that umbrella, Islam, and Judaism, okay? Those three religions have this patriarchal ideology that, man created the world and we have this male God, and they're going to put the fear of God in you and suppress sexuality and suppress anything that is not heterosexual, monogamous, except I know Islam is into the multiple wives, but they ain't about that life when it comes to the woman, though, right? And everything is traced through the father, right? And I think that there's some serious issues with that, because every society is matriarchal first. Sometimes you hear black people saying, oh, Africa is matriarchal. Every place is matriarchal. The European countries, the Asian countries, the Middle East, the Polynesians, the American Indians, and Africans. A lot of people don't look into, the history, but every culture, everybody had matriarchal traditions first. And under matriarchal traditions, there was no suppression of men, okay? Nobody said that men couldn't be leaders or that men couldn't do whatever, but it's just that if a man was a leader, if he was in a position of power, it's a woman who put that crown on his head, either his wife or his mother, okay? Because in matriarchal cultures, they understood that women are the most connected to spirit, okay? Women are the most connected to spirit because women give birth. And even if women don't give birth, because we are in a female body and we have wombs and we have that ability, we're just more easily penetrated by spirit. Also, there's a connection between spirituality and sexuality. It's of one continuum, okay? Spirituality and sexuality are of one continuum. I have some videos on sacred sexuality that you should check out where I get more into that. But if that's the case, I lost my train of thought. I said sexuality and Sexuality and spirituality are of the same continuum. I just completely went blank, and now I feel the pressure because I'm in front of the camera. So hopefully it'll come back to me. Oh, so annoying. I remember what I'm saying. Okay. So under matriarchal traditions, it was understood that we're sexual beings, okay? This is what I was gonna say. Spirituality and sexuality are of the same continuum, and women, not only the giving birth thing, but the fact that we're penetrated sexually. So if you're penetrated sexually, you can be penetrated spiritually, okay? And this is the reason why gay men, a lot of times, are very connected to spirit. When you see men who are seers and a lot of times, psychics and communicating with spirit, a lot of times they are gay men, okay? I'm not going to say it's 100%, but usually that's the case. And it's recognized that they're being penetrated, again, when you're penetrated physically, it opens it to being penetrated spiritually, okay? So, in matriarchal cultures, they understood the connection between sexuality and spirituality. They understood that the women are more connected to it. Okay, so people just respected that. Everything was traced through the mother. So in those cultures, you had civilizations where men in the village took care of all of the kids as if they were theirs. Okay, they took care of all the kids if they were theirs. Nobody cared who the father was. They only cared who the mother was. Everything was traced to the mother. The thing about that is good is that there were no fatherless children. When you have a society where everything is traced to the father, and you have men that just peace them out, which happens all the time, then you get fatherless children, right? So a lot of people haven't looked into this, but it's patriarchal religions that came and changed that. And that brought so much hate and so much shame of the body. And it was, if you look at the primary documents, you see the colonizers writing about the indecency of the Africans, the indecency of the American Indians, the indigenous people here in the Caribbean and the American South who are running around with no clothes on. The Polynesians, okay, there's you could look at primary documents of the missionaries who went to Hawaii and they saw the indigenous people going from one island to the next, butt naked, covered up in coconut oil, getting off the boat on another island and having sex with everybody on that beach. There's written, accounts of this, and the missionaries were disgusted. Okay, they say these people are heathens, and they use that as an excuse to impose all kinds of violence and destruction and colonization, because we need to be civilized. Okay, and part of that being civilized is putting on some clothes. But when you look at ancient art, okay, you look at depictions of any goddesses in the world, their nipples be out most of the time. They got jewelry on, their nipples are out. Why? There are vortexes. The nipples have vortexes of energy. If people saw more nudity, people wouldn't be so pervy. And when I say pervy, I'm not talking about having sexual desires. That's normal. We're sexual beings, right? But I'm talking about people that be on some perv shit, like just sick shit, okay? Wanting to hurt people, wanting to rape people, just, molestation. I feel like all of that comes from extreme suppression, right? So for me, the way that I live my life and I do things, I told you, I am a trainer, background in exercise science, sports science, exercise physiology. I have a background in nutrition. My approach to things is from an ancestral perspective, because there are no studies, okay, that have been done. You can do a 10-year, 15, 20-year study. That shit has nothing on the studies of generations. When you see what has been proven to work generation over generation over generation, when you see what has been proven to work for tens of thousands of years, we've been on this planet way before the Bible ever existed. So I don't know why people quote the Bible all the time as if it's some kind of instruction manual that came with the earth. No offense to those who are listening, because I know I'm probably going to offend some people, but this is dead ass how I feel. I don't care what the Bible says. When people quote the Bible as proof of something, what the Bible says, I don't give a damn. The Bible was written to brainwash people. I don't trust no man that said God was talking to him and then he decided to write this shit. Like, that's suspect. All the con artists, they're men. And I'm not saying I don't like men or I hate men or anything like that. I love men. My best friends are men. I have a twin brother. I'm close to my dad, who has a lot to do with the woman that I am. So I don't hate men. But if we're really being honest, every time we see some huge con artist or some big mega religious guru who, leading people into some crap, it's always a dude, okay? So, and I remember when I was in Haiti talking to this high-level voodoo priest, and he used to be a professor of ethnomusicology at some elite university in Massachusetts. But I asked him, what do you think of the Mambos? The Mambos are the Haitian voodoo priestesses, the women. And he told me they're more connected to spirit. They're more pure. Most of the time when people are lying to you and trying to manipulate you and take your money, it's the men. And even he said that, okay? So I'm just going to say. So, all of this, it is straight BS. So it's like you have society and you have nature, right? And I feel like what society says is okay and normal and civilized is a lot of times in direct opposition of nature, right? And so I just had to so this is where I'm coming from. First of all, I don't knock anybody who shows their body because they're trying to get attention. Go ahead. That's nature. Okay. You have all kinds of animals. And usually in other species, it's usually the men that are doing the whole song and dance, got the pretty colors and doing stuff to attract the female. But regardless, male and females, okay, and various species, including ours, do things to attract the opposite sex. Or the same sex, I guess, but opposite sex, right? So I don't knock people who do that. But for me, my motivation behind ever showing my body was never that. First, when I was working with photographers, they're artists. That's the vision they had. I was open-minded, so I went along with it. I wasn't even comfortable in my skin back then. I have another video called Comfortable in My Skin. If you watch that, I tell more of my story about how I became more comfortable in my skin with nudity. And, I'm not an exhibitionist. I didn't start off like that either. But it's like, first it was that. Actually, it started off with me running track, okay? Because I was a basketball player in high school, and I ran track a little bit. And it's funny because when I played basketball, that was my number one sport. And I had on baggy shorts and jersey. People thought I was so skinny. And then track season would come, and I put on my track shit, and they'd be like, oh, you have more body than I thought. Then when I started running track in college, when you're running track, you're basically in a swimsuit. And I remember feeling really uncomfortable back then because I didn't wear, back then, if I even wore spandex, I had a long t-shirt covering my butt. I would never wear spandex and a short shirt. I was very conscious. So when I started running track, and it's like you have to have on a swimsuit, but that's the outfit. You can't be like, oh, I'm going to put a long t-shirt on. I'm going to put some sweatpants on. That's not it. So that started to get me comfortable with less clothes. Then I get out of college. I didn't start posing for photographers till after college. And then that made me more comfortable. Then I started studying dances from the African diaspora. Like I told you, a lot of these Afro-Caribbean. And when you actually study the meanings in the dances, there's so much to learn. Even though in a lot of those Afro-Caribbean dances, they're wearing Aunt Jemima outfits, right? They're wearing, yes, I do always have purpose for what I'm doing. That's a fact. There's a reason for everything that I do, which is the reason why I sometimes have a problem when it comes to men, okay? Because for me, And I've been listening to so many relationship conversations lately. And I hear people talking about, what women are supposed to be and what's so-called feminine. And so many women just seem so into getting a man with money who's going to pay all the bills and take care of them. But like to me, sexual compatibility matters. Okay, so people be talking about they're not having sex till they get married. That's the worst shit ever, because sexual compatibility is real. And to me, good sex is an important part of life. Okay, it's an important part of enjoying life. To me, it's an important part of obtaining and maintaining optimal health. Okay, when people don't get good sex, it makes them fucked up in the head. Okay, it makes them have a bad attitude. It makes them just and this is the reason why people be hating on strippers. I'm like, you know what? Strippers are like therapists, though. If it weren't for strippers, I think the violence in this world would be even worse. Okay, I think if it weren't for strippers, and some dudes don't ever go to the strip club at all, and that's fine. But I think if they close all the strip clubs, okay, you will see the violence go up tomorrow. Because I do think that there are some men, I'm not saying it's 100%, but I think there are some men because I've seen it before when I've been in a strip club. I've seen some men that seem like their whole day, their whole week, this was the highlight of their whole week, that this chick is jiggling in his face or whatever. And that shit might have calmed him down from somebody's neck he was about to break. You know what I'm saying? And then a lot of times they sit and they talk to these girls and yada, yada, yada. They're entertainers. Fun, adult, erotic entertainment. It's great. So when people have a problem with that, like none of that shit makes any sense to me. You know what I'm saying? It just doesn't make any sense. And so, but anyhow, the thing I'm going to say is that, like, for me to be in a relationship with somebody, I need to be attracted to them, right? And the sex got to be good. And that was one of my issues with the whole idea of monogamy, because really, humans are not monogamous creatures naturally. If you don't believe me, I just dare you to take a look at the book Sex at Dawn, okay, which is a New York Times bestseller. It is the best book written on human sexuality. I've read a lot of books on human sexuality. I've been a sexual educator since high school, sacred sexual educator since I've been grown. I'm into that. Sex at Dawn, okay? That book is brilliant. But now, with that being said, I'm not going to say that some people aren't happy being monogamous, okay? Because I do think some people are happy that way. I think that it's very few. I think maybe like 20% of people. I think most monogamous people are fronting, okay? Either they're doing something else or they're just not happy and they're just fine being unhappy, or they just accepted that for whatever reason. For me, to be, and I think about it with myself, like for me to be monogamous, like I need somebody that's going to be making sure my needs are met. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, I feel like if you're in a monogamous relationship, you need to be dedicated to making sure your partner's happy and making their needs met. I just think that it's a lot of pressure to put on one person to make sure all your needs are met all the time, right? Just, and I can get into, that's a whole nother video about that. So, in my experience, in my life, when I've been in relationships with men, I've been in relationships with, and this is probably going to shock a lot of people, because a lot of people, what they might think my life is like, or whatever, but it's like, most of my adult life I've been single, but I have been in relationships. I don't always, share that publicly. But all the relationships that I've been in, it's like, not all of them. There was one that, they just they're not doing enough to meet my needs, right? Like, and it's weird because there's times that I've had a strong emotional connection with somebody. Like they evoke all the mushiness in my heart, which every man can't do. And I really fuck with them in terms of like their personality and da-da-da. But then sexually they're falling short, Been in a relationship with somebody who had erection problems. And I help men, I teach classes to men to help them prevent that problem or alleviate that problem. I have helped men in my life. I don't talk about my work with men that much. People know me more from my work with women. And I'm thinking about revamping my men's work because men need it, okay? A lot of men are having erection issues. And when you read the stats, I've noticed it in my personal life, but it's like, when I read the stats on it, it says, I think it's, I forget what it is. I think it says something like 40% of men by the age of 40 have ED, and then 70% by the age of 70 or something, which is a lot. And it's not some inevitable thing. There are things that men can do to help prevent that. And there are things that men should be doing regardless to make sure that their erections are stronger and, you know, that they're more sensitive and tuned in. And there's things that women should be doing to make sure they keep up the elasticity in their vaginal canal, the wetness in their vaginal canal, the sensitivity. And I teach that as well, right? But like for me, I can't be in a monogamous situation with somebody who is having sex with me once every 10 days, or the sex is just whack, or they're just not. So if I'm going to be in a monogamous connection, I need somebody who has a high sex drive, okay, that can drive me crazy. And so like, I'm good with you, you know what I'm saying? Because you are hitting all the right spots and everything is great. But that doesn't happen a lot. And a lot of times men don't understand. You know, men I hear a lot of conversations of men talking about women not pleasing them, and that's why men cheat, and because, oh, she's not doing this, she's not doing that. But dudes don't realize, that shit goes both ways. Because a lot of men a lot of men's phalluses may not be big enough, like their erections may not be strong enough. They may not have skills, okay? And she might love you, or maybe she's with you because of your money, but she's craving something else. Or maybe it was good when she first met you and then the shit fell off, you know what I'm saying? So all of that can happen. And I'm just the kind of person that's going to keep it real. Like, I can't dumb down my intelligence, because some people act like that's unfeminine to be smart, and oh, you're challenging a man, and da-da-da-da. And I know men that will ask me questions and then they think I'm going to give some short little answer because they don't understand. There's serious reasons for everything that I do. Cannot put me in a box, okay? So I'm not, when I'm on the internet shaking my ass, I'm not doing that because like, oh, I'm trying to get attention from men. I'll get attention from men regardless, okay? If I go out last night, I walked, over here to the store like 8 blocks away. I just threw on some sweatpants and a hoodie and a coat, no makeup, no nothing. I was just in the house being lazy yesterday. I throw on some whatever, go outside, and dudes are still acting like, oh, and I'm like, what the fuck, what are you even looking at? So it's like, no, I don't need to do that. And that's not the purpose. I am a dancer, okay? Just remember that first and foremost. And whatever people see on social media is a very small percentage of the dancing that I do and can do, okay? Because I'm not in a studio with a bunch of space, with the right floors, with the drums, so a lot of things I even told you I study, you never even see me do. You guys see me dance in a little square, trying to keep, my moves in this little square. You don't see how I be jumping, I go down, up, this way, that way. You guys have never really seen me dance like that, but I'm a dancer. And I don't like clothes like that. And what's wrong with being in a bikini? If you in a bikini, see, this is how people don't know how to think critically. If you're on the beach in a bikini, what's the difference between being on the beach in a bikini or being in your house in a bikini? What's the difference between being in a bikini and just being stiff and still and walking, and being in a bikini and dancing a little bit? What's the difference? Why is it inappropriate? Why is it okay if a woman has in a bikini on the beach just walking? But if a woman has in a bikini in the house or in a club and she's, moving something, oh, now it's inappropriate. You can't see how that's a result of colonization. If you ever look at the photos that photographers took when they got to remote places or people who still had, not been colonized, which is hardly anybody like that now. But anywhere where it was hot, the women were topless. You look in Africa, you see whole tribes, whatever, women topless. You go to the Amazon, same thing, and they ain't wearing no panties neither, okay? So, I'm just saying, all right? And so, for me, I'm an intellectual. I read, I research. I am a critical thinker. I observe the obvious. I'm into my health. I'm into longevity, okay? I think about longevity. When I was 18 years old, I promised myself I'm going to do everything in my power to age as gracefully as possible, as slowly as possible, to keep my shit intact for as long as possible. And because dancing is my art form, okay? So for artists create work for an audience, okay, to heal the world, okay? But we also create it to heal ourselves first, okay? And you know, a lot of artists have a lot of artists are tortured souls. You know, most people have no idea what goes on in my life, right? Unless they really know me or they're close to me. And I don't express it a lot publicly because I have all these tools that I use to keep my sanity throughout whatever bullshit is going on in my life, right? I stay in a place of gratitude. I say, okay, I've been through traumatic things. Something traumatic happens. I used to go to the dance classes and dance hard to the drums. I'd get on the pole. I actually started pole dancing 10 years ago when something traumatic happened to me, okay? I almost want to say it, but I'm like, do I want to tell all my business? But I got into it to overcome something traumatic, right? And because I feel like if I'm focused so much on this pole and I'm focused on the stuff on this pole so hard, I can't focus on that and be focused on what hurt me or what trauma happened. I go to a dance class. I go to a Haitian dance class and I'm shaking, I'm moving hips, my head, gyrating shoulders, everything, stomping feet, kicking legs to the drums. That shit is so intense because my mind has to be in so many different parts of my body. You're going to have consciousness in my head, my neck, my shoulders, my hips, my feet. My arms are doing this, my legs. It's complicated. I can't focus on that and I'm trying to breathe and get through it, right? Trying to focus on the beats. I can't focus on all that and be focused on what upset me and made me and broke my heart, right? And then when you have live drums there, live drums pounding, giving you those vibrations, and the shaking helps to shake the shit off of you. That's the reason why our Afro-Indigenous ancestors, for those of us who are Afro-Indigenous, that's why they dance so hard. That's why no matter where you look in the Americas, whether it be North America, South America, Central America, or the Caribbean, you have shake dances, okay, from Afro-Indigenous people who were enslaved. It was medicine. They didn't do that shit for no reason. Okay, and that includes twerking. That includes bounce from New Orleans. So every black person who sits there and says, "Oh, I hear so many black men talking about women twerking as being something that's inappropriate, or they're disrespecting themselves, and they talk about it in such a negative light. Women too. If you say that and think like that, you sound like the colonizers. Okay." Because first of all, not only do those dances have medicine for shaking off trauma, okay, and resetting our energy fields, but those dances also have medicine for the viewer, just people who look at that and it makes them happy. Yay, don't we all want to be happy? People who do it makes them happy. That's why you see girls twerking with their friends. There don't even be no dudes around. And what? The girls be laughing, happy, everybody's twerking. They're happy. Then, if a man is seduced by it, then great. Because there needs to be seductive dances, okay? The more a man is seduced, the more a man is turned on, the better erection and other things that come from that situation, right? So that plays a role in societies. There have been dances of seduction. And those dances of seduction are also the same dances and movements that a lot of times women do to get babies out of their body. So it's like how you got the baby in is how you get the baby out, okay? And having that mind-body connection to your hips and that control is important. But patriarchal religion came in and said, shame to all of that. Shame to the root chakra, shame to the body. Have the fear of God, okay? Sexual thoughts are evil. I don't know if you guys know about the Shiva Ngigs, okay? Or Goddess Atabe in Puerto Rico. Goddess Atabe is a goddess who has her legs wide open. She's legs wide open, vaginal symbol, right? And the Sheila Ngigs were on churches in Ireland where they would rub it before they went in. And it was a figurine of a woman, legs wide open, vulva symbol, okay? You see that in caves all over the world, including here in America, like in California and Utah and shit. There's cave art where you see those same depictions. And sometimes you just see the vulva, sometimes you see blood coming out of it, sometimes you see baby's head coming out of it, or it's just there, right? Those are power symbols because it was recognized that is where we all come from. And when we die, what happens? Get buried into Mama Earth. Okay? So, and Mother Earth is dark and wet. The vagina, a dark, wet, mysterious place. The womb, dark, wet, mysterious place. In the earth, dark, wet, mysterious place. Okay? It's the divine feminine, and that gets completely ignored. And with that, it's very damaging. And I could go on with that forever, but that's where I come from. Okay? So sometimes it's really hard for me on this planet because I don't see things and understand things from this colonized, this post-colonial, patriarchal religious mindset. All right? Thank you. I don't come from that, right? And I come from a place of life is too short to be having bad sex. A friend of, she's like an aunt to me, a friend of the family. She's like an aunt to me. She's in, I think, her late 60s, early 70s, told me that one of her biggest regrets was not having more sex when she was younger, okay? Because she said to me, one day, your body's not going to work like that anymore, and you're going to wish you would have done certain things. And that's one thing I admire about men. I don't shame men for their sexuality, and men are more proactive about making sure their sexual needs are met. I respect men for that. I wish more women would be that way, because a lot of women aren't like that. Women be holding themselves up, talking about, they're not having sex for a year or two for whatever reason. Listen, I can't think of a good reason to be abstinent. Unless you just don't have somebody good to connect with. Like, sometimes that's real. Because sometimes people think, it's so easy for women. Women can always get dudes. But no, not necessarily. It's not. It's not, okay? Being a woman has its pros and cons. And being a man has its pros and cons. And, thinking that something's easy, no. Because women have to be careful with a lot of things. There's also a lot of women who've been sexually abused. Thankfully, I'm not one of those people. But there's a lot of women who've been sexually abused. So if a woman has been sexually abused, she's definitely going to be a lot more guarded with, the company of men, because there are a lot of predators out there. Okay, there's a lot of men who are crazy as hell, and then there's a lot of men that just don't have sexual skills. So maybe that woman is just like, I know I'm at a point in my life where I'm just like, if you don't got it, I can't be bothered. So that might cause somebody to be, but a lot of women are just like, I don't know, they had a bad breakup or something, and then they want to be absent for a year or two. To me, you're wasting your life. I don't know. That's just me. I can't think of a good reason for that, because I feel like cultivating sexual energy helps with your chi, with your hormones, with your mental. It's a lot of things. What do I think about thruples? 2 women and 1 man. I think that's fine if that's what they want to do. I know for me, one fantasy of mine, this never happened, but in my little dream world, I would love to have a girlfriend and we go, find a dude together. You know what I'm saying? I think that would be really dope, but that's never happened, nowhere close. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, but there's also situations where you have 2 men and 1 woman. That exists. There are women out here with 2 husbands. And when you look at indigenous cultures, and also when people always trying to give the reasoning as to why women should accept that, having these sister wives, which to me makes no sense. Are you my sister or are you my wife? Because that shit sounds incestuous, right? And to me, because I'm into women, if I'm gonna have a so-called sister wife, which I hate that term, it needs to be somebody I'm attracted to and we can get down too. But I don't get down with my sister, so I don't like that sister wife shit. That shit sounds retarded. But when people try to say that, that should, women should share men because there's not enough men out there. Okay, but at the same time, you also have men who, there's also, so there's the fact that there's a lot of men out here who can't provide and can't meet a woman's needs, whether it be whatever aspect, whether it be sexually, emotionally, financially, whatever, right? Then there comes the benefit of, well, maybe she got 3 boyfriends, okay? And then all that pressure is not put on this one dude. Maybe this dude is a great provider and but the sex is whack. This dude, great sex, so I'm just saying. Or maybe she's, for the women who are looking for men to take care of them and help them financially, maybe she got 3 dudes doing it instead of 1. So it's not putting on the pressure on 1 dude. I'm just saying. The argument could be made for a lot of both ways. And in fact, when you look at pre-colonial civilizations, even here in the Americas, I'm American, I'm in America, The indigenous people here, that's how they were. There were tribes here where the woman had multiple husbands, or they were married, because marriage always existed, but they were married, but they didn't just have sex with each other. There's a lot of different things that existed. People don't study this. People don't study pre-colonial societies. People don't study pre-colonial art. People don't look at the primary documents, the artifacts. People don't study anthropology. You know what I'm saying? People study this limited view of history that's completely distorted by patriarchal religion. And most people have been indoctrinated with that nonsense since they were kids, okay? So I'm just saying, if somebody wants to look at me and judge me from this patriarchal religious mindset, that's not what I come from, okay? That shit don't apply to me. Yeah, sometimes you have to have different people for different situations. You know what I'm saying? Otherwise, people be miserable out here. Like, I know of a few people. I could think of 3 women that I know, or have known through somebody else, right? Who are married to men that they adore, but the man had prostate cancer, could no longer get erections. You know, and those men allowed their wife, I don't even want to say allowed, because nobody owns anybody, but I'm just saying, they were okay with her having sex with other men, because he couldn't please her. You know what I'm saying? So if something happens to you and you can no longer get erections and you can no longer perform sexually, whether you're male or female, if you're a woman and you get some kind of illness and you can't have sex right now or for the rest of your life, to try to hold up your spouse and say that they can't either, that they got to have a sexless life, that's selfish and fucked up, okay? Instead of people thinking that, oh, you know, like if you're something is happening with your genitals are disabled and you think it's selfish for your partner to go have sex with somebody else. No, it's the other way around. You're being selfish. Because sometimes I know people who are in that situation and they still love their spouse, okay? They don't want to leave their spouse. They may have built a life with that person. They may enjoy that person's company, their personality. They may have kids and a family together, so they don't want to break up because of that, but they still got sexual needs. So to me, it makes more sense to, you know your genitals aren't working, let your spouse, be okay with them doing something else, and you guys might still be together. That's option A. Option B could be that they just leave you all together because they're like, I don't want to be here for this. Would you rather, if something happens to your genitals and they don't work, would you rather your spouse just leave you completely? And then who's going to want to be with you anyway? You know what I'm saying? And after that. But anyhow, I'm just saying, would you rather your spouse or your partners leave you completely, or would you rather be okay with them having sex with somebody else and you guys still love each other, you're still together because your genitals don't work? People have a lot of very possessive, selfish, just irrational thoughts and out of touch with reality as shit when it comes to life and sexuality and bodies and stuff like that, right? So I just don't come from that. I'm not trying to control anybody, and I don't want anybody trying to control me. You know what I'm saying? And if somebody wants to be around me all the time, great. But I'm not going to try to chain you to the wall and make you do that. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm just saying life is more complex than that. And so yeah, like my approach to health, whether it's, like I said, yes, okay. I wish you the best. I know people who are watching this video can't see what I just read, but it was somebody talking about dealing with cancer right now and how they wouldn't want to hold anybody from living their life. You know what? And that's big of you, and I really hope that you recover and come out of it. And if you ever need nutrition advice or anything, I'm always there to do evaluations. So just reach out. I think, my approach to health, whether it's, mental health, spiritual health, nutrition, fitness, sexual health, sexuality, all of it for me comes out of pre-colonial ideology and looking at, coming from Mother Nature. Okay, I feel like the more that we deviate from nature, the more it backfires on us. I feel like anytime we do something, whether it's blocking the sun, putting sunscreen on, being in your car too damn much, and now you don't use your legs and your body's wasting away. Putting foreign objects in your body. trying to avoid getting a so-called sick. All of these things, you know, whenever we go against nature, it backfires. So I'm about living as much in alignment with nature as much as possible. Okay, I live in this post-colonial world. Of course, I'm not going to go live in the bush and start hunting on my own food. But I'm just saying, as much as possible, my approach to health and what I eat and what I do and how I think and how I live, you know. And so for me, like if somebody sees me, you know, half naked, you know, dancing half naked, and oh, men are so lustful, and you know, oh, how can you deal with that? Men are going to be lustful regardless. Okay. There are women out here who their whole life they're trying to cover up, usually because something happened to them, usually because they got abused or something, and they spend their whole life trying to cover up, wearing baggy stuff, trying to hide their body. Men still see through that. If you have, especially if you have a bad body, dudes see through all that shit. Okay, men lust. Any woman who lives anywhere where there's a winter time, you know, you could go outside to the store and you got on a big winter coat and some sweatpants. And there's still dudes that be in your face. It's like they see through all that. So I'm not going to try to just keep hiding who I am because dudes lust. Dudes are going to lust regardless. And if you look at indigenous societies, women weren't like, oh, let me cover up my nipples because men might lust. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to stop being who I am for that. That's what patriarchal religion teaches. In Islam, they teach the reason why women have to cover up like that is because they're distracting the men from praying. The men can't pray because they're distracted by the women. I remember when I was in high school hearing that. We had to go, we took a world religion class, and we had to go to a mosque. And when they told me that, I was like, okay, so you're telling me that I need to wear all these clothes in this hot ass weather because these dudes can't concentrate? Why don't they, instead of telling women to cover up, why don't they tell these dudes, pay attention, goddammit, get control of your mind, discipline, fucking pay attention. Don't blame that shit on women. Oh, you can't concentrate because women are around, so they got to cover up. That's bullshit. That's what I'm talking about. Patriarchal religion. Or in Judaism, when they act like these women are supposed to, I don't know what it is, they shave their head and put on a wig and just supposed to be baby factories for these men. And a lot of these Jewish men, I'm talking about the really religious ones, they're like pervy as hell. Okay? Yeah, they'll be in all kinds of dominatrix studios doing weird shit. Because like I said, all that suppression makes you a weirdo pervo. Okay? And that's why you always see all this molestation and pervo shit in religions. All right? And you got people who are so far gone that like adults, they don't believe their kids sometimes. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So I'm just not, that's not where I come from. I'm not about that. I don't respect that. Okay? I'm going to be a shining example of health. I care about myself. I take care of myself in every way. You know, and when people have been seeing lately that I've been getting all these blocks, I just had a strike on my YouTube page. I still don't know what I did on YouTube. I got a strike against my account where I couldn't post for a week. I don't even know for what I did. Okay, Facebook I get blocks on Facebook all the time for stuff, but I got a Facebook block recently for something I posted in my stories, just an artistic photo of myself. Instagram, those of you who follow me on my page, The Renaissance Amazon, I'm hoping that page doesn't get deleted. I really don't want it to get deleted, but every other day, you're taking something down. Stuff that I posted years ago. And it's funny watching people who follow me post their comments as if I'm confused. They're like, oh, somebody must be doing that. And people hit me in my inbox, please do not hit me in my inbox and start asking me, oh, do you think you know who it is? Did you upset some people? Please stop asking me that dumb shit. I have like, I don't know how many followers, 23,000 or something. I'm sure more than one person is doing something. How am I going to know if I upset one person? I mean, come on. But let me tell you something though. This is the thing that you guys don't understand. I laugh, right? Because I've been going through this shit my whole entire adult life. People have no idea. And this is why I always said I was going to write my story when I was 40, okay? Now I'm 40, and I feel like, okay, I said that I was going to do it. It came way faster than I thought that it would. And so now I'm like, oh, I said I was going to write this. Because I've been, the parents that I come from, okay? My dad was on the front line of the civil rights movement. My dad was a part of the organization that strategically put the Black Panthers together, okay? RAM, the Revolutionary Action Movement. My dad knew Malcolm well. He was there when he was assassinated. He got there after it happened. He was supposed to be up there with him, but he was late. My uncle went to Howard with Stokely Carmichael, wrote his autobiography. I grew up around black intellectuals and freedom fighters. My dad used to, the FBI used to come by his house like every other freaking weekend, okay, in the 60s. My mom is a notorious union organizer, okay, who's very well known, very much involved in politics, been sent on secret missions in the South to organize people, okay? So, my name's been on the list. And people whose parents did the stuff that my dad did back in the day, a lot of times they mess with their kids. So I've been having people doing shit with me, okay? 2007, and this is, you know, it had a huge influence of who I am, and part of the story I need to finally tell in my book, but I have so many books to write and I hardly have a time, but I really need to do it. But there was a woman who was stalking me, okay? She was a fan of my dad's. He was on the radio in New York. And this woman was a fan of his, obsessed with him, totally jealous that he loved me so much. Because anybody who knows my dad, all he does is brag on me to the point where it's like embarrasses me. But my dad loves me. I'm definitely a daddy's girl. Like, I hear people say that mother didn't tell me I love him, that father didn't tell me that. My dad's more affectionate than my mom, okay? Both my parents love me, but my dad shows me a lot of love, okay? And he does it publicly. Right, so this woman was jealous because her father didn't care about her. Her daughter's father didn't care about her. So she just was really jealous, okay? And I'm making a very long story short, but this woman, I never met her a day in my life. And she went out of her way for years, okay, to try to destroy my life. And it led to the NYPD busting into my apartment, arresting me illegally, me being in court with the NYPD for a year. Before the case got thrown out, I almost went to trial with the NYPD. Then I was being harassed by the NYPD in the weirdest ways. It made me not want to be in New York anymore. You know, I moved to Pittsburgh. There's a lot of stuff that has happened. Okay, so much crazy shit in my life where people who I never did anything to them seriously went out of their way to try to fuck up my life, okay? It's been happening my entire adult life. And when I was born, and I don't be messing with people. I'll be over here trying to give good energy, be a good person, be who I was sent here to be, because I know what I'm here for, okay? And sometimes it's a hard mission. Sometimes it's a lonely path, but you can't run from who you are, okay? And this woman, it was pure hate that this woman had towards me, you know. And it's been people I've been in relationships with who I've been super giving too giving. Some people who don't know me, who know me on the internet, they think that, oh, she's so mean. No, I'm too nice. That's the problem. You know, and the men that I had been with, they all, after being with me, were elevated, better, had more skills. You know, like, just, I put them on to some shit. And then so unappreciative in the end and jealous of me. Like, I don't even understand being jealous of somebody you're in a relationship with. How are you jealous? I would never be jealous of somebody that I love and I'm in a relationship with them, or looking at them like competition. But I've experienced that from men. You know what I'm saying? So, but I can't help but to be who I am. I can't dumb myself down. I'm not going to dumb myself down. It just is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I'm not an actress. I say I'm a lot of things, but I am not an actress. Okay? I'm definitely a nerd. I definitely am well researched on the things that I know. And when it comes to the body, that's my realm. And I don't really know too many people who have done as much research as me for as long as I've been doing it, okay? Reading studies, analyzing studies, reading books, like well-written scholarly texts. I don't just listen to something on the internet. I listen to people like Layla Africa and Sabi. I won't say doctor because neither one of them were doctors, neither one of them were even legit practitioners. They were both frauds, okay? And they were talking a bunch of nonsense, a bunch of hateful, incorrect rhetoric nonsense, okay? They didn't even look healthy, okay? Because we have to observe the obvious. Observe the obvious. If you are supposed to be a health guru, and you're telling people about health and you have no glow, okay? If your complexion looks drab and ashy, and you have no glow, that right there is a sign that you have weak chi and you ain't that damn healthy, okay? If you look frail, okay, like you can't do 5 push-ups, that says a lot. That's not a sign of good health. You don't look strong. We don't see you do shit, but we could look at